"There's a pretty good story," the big man said, still grinning. "Only one thing wrong with it. I don't believe you." "What about you fellers?" "Don't seem likely," one of them said. "You got a name, mister?" the big man asked me. "Tackett," I said. "Dale Tackett." "Pleased to meet you, Tackett," he said. "Me? I'm Bailey Harbor. I'm the foreman of the Rockin' W Ranch. We own that there steer you found, and to show how grateful we are to you for finding it, we're going to throw a party in your honor. A necktie party." Before I could say anything, two of the cowboys dismounted and came for me. For half a second I thought about going for my gun, but death at a young age never had no appeal for me, so I stood still whilst one of them grabbed my 6-gun and stuck it in his belt. The other one had his lasso handy and put the noose of it over my neck and pulled it snug. He led me over to old Dobbin, and I climbed aboard, all the time thinking how once in the saddle I could yank the rope out of that cowboy's hands and be off and running. But that was another thought I gave up on in a hurry. Old Dobbin wasn't no spring chicken anymore, and I'd been pushing him steady for nigh on to 3 weeks, and he was a mite wore down. Shoot, even when he was young and frisky, he couldn't outrun a rifle bullet, and all 4 of those hombres was carrying rifles. Thing that gave me hope, though, was that all 4 of them seemed pretty cocky. With 4 of them and 1 of me, they didn't figure I was going anywhere, and they were probably right, but I figured as long as I was alive I had a chance. And if one that was even half good came along, I was going to take it. We rode along for maybe a half hour. The cowboy had tied the rope around my neck to his saddle horn, and he trailed along behind me to make sure I didn't try to slip free of the noose. He never figured it was necessary to tie my hands. Pretty soon up ahead I saw some sycamore trees lining a creek. They were big trees with spreading branches that looked strong enough to hold a man, even one as big as I am, and I weighed 200 pounds in my stocking feet. Bailey Harbor rode up alongside me. "Some good-looking trees up ahead," he said. "Since it's your party, you can take your choice." "Mr. Harbor," I said, "like I told you, my name is Tackett. I come from the R Ranch down in the Arizona Territory. I'm heading for Cutback, up the road a ways. Got a fellow there to see, named of Frank Honorock. Runs a little newspaper. It don't make no sense for me to be trying to steal one of your cows." "Here's what I know," he said. "The Rockin' W's been losing cows ever since spring. I caught you with one of our cows, a fire, and a running iron. I don't guess you're ever going to see your friend in Cutback." He was riding close to me while he spoke. "That's the way it is," he said, as I looked over at him. "So get used to it." Well, what the hell, I thought, and I reached out and backhanded him across the face with all my strength, which is considerable, even if I couldn't get all my weight into the blow. It caught him unawares, and it knocked him half out of the saddle. With the same motion, I yanked the noose off my neck, leapt to the ground, grabbed Bailey Harbor by one leg, and dragged him the rest of the way off his saddle. He sprawled on the ground just as a shot hit the dirt at my feet. I looked around and seen that all 3 of them cowboys had their guns pointed at me. I grinned up at them. "Figured to get my licks in afore you hung me," I said. Harbor staggered to his feet and brushed the dirt off the front of his shirt and licked the blood off his lips. "Stand back, boys," he snarled. "I'm going to beat the living hell out of this galoot. Then we're going to hang him." "Make a deal with you," I said. "You whip me, you hang me. I whip you, you turn me loose." His answer was to throw a sudden short left hook that caught the point of my jaw and sent me stumbling backward onto the ground. Then he came after me with both boots and caught me in the ribs with one, but I rolled away from him before he could do any serious damage and scrambled to my feet. He was a big man, maybe not as tall as me, but every bit as broad and heavy, with a deep chest and a bull neck and short, powerful arms. Whipping him was not going to be easy, and I figured it was my only chance. He came charging into me with both arms wide, meaning to get me in a bear hug. I ducked down low and turned a hip into him, and he went flying over me and landed on his back on the ground. But he hit rolling and leapt to his feet, none the worse for wear. He came charging at me again, this time with his head low, meaning to butt me in the belly. I managed to shove him to one side as he reached for me, and when he went by, I got a chokehold around his neck with my left arm and began chopping at his kidney with my right fist. I heard him grunt with pain every time I hit him, and I knew he'd be seeing blood for a few days whenever he set about doing his daily duties. But he was stronger than any ox, and even with all my weight leaning on him, he managed to rear up and throw me off. We went at it then, slugging at each other with everything we had. Neither one of us knowed much about the science of boxing, and we missed as often as we landed. It was pretty even for the first while. He cut my cheek with a looping right fist, and I smashed a straight right hand into his mouth that flattened out his lips and made him spit blood. We rocked each other pretty good a time or two more, but neither of us went down, mainly because we was both afraid we wouldn't be able to get up again. After we'd been at it a while, I noticed he was beginning to breathe hard from his mouth, and his hands were drooping a little. He kept barreling in, though. But this one time when he come at me, I set myself and threw my weight into a right-hand punch that caught him high in the belly just below his rib cage. He sat down suddenly, his face all red and his mouth gaping open while he fought and gasped for breath. He finally turned over on his hands and knees and then leaned down on his forearms. Me and them cowboys just watched as he finally got his wind and staggered to his feet. He glared at me for a minute, then growled, "All right, boys, he's had his fun. Now let's hang the son of a bitch." Just then a voice I hadn't heard before said matter-of-factly, "Ain't gonna be no hanging today, Harbor." When I looked around, I saw a gray-haired man sitting there on a big paint horse. He wore a leather vest, and the thing I noticed about it was that there was a star pinned on the left side. "Howdy, Sheriff," I said. "Looks like you got here just in time." "Looks like," he said. "That was a good fight you put up there, son. Don't think anyone's ever licked old Bailey Harbor before." He turned to Harbor. "You want to tell me what's going on here?" "He's a rustler, and we're fixing to hang him," Harbor mumbled between his mashed lips. The sheriff turned back to me. "You a rustler, son?" "No, sir, Sheriff. I'm the foreman of the R Ranch down in the Arizona Territory, heading up the road a ways to Cutback. Got a feller to see named of Frank Honorock. Runs a paper there." "Honorock, huh? I've heard of him. What's this about you being a rustler?" One of the cowboys broke in. "Look here, Von Cart. We caught him in the act with a running iron in his hand." "It looked that way, but that ain't the way it was," I said, beginning to wonder what would happen if he believed them, and knowing it was the word of a stranger against that of 4 men he knew. One thing was for sure, if he turned his back and walked away from me, he wouldn't be the first Western lawman to let the ranchers make their own law. "What's your name, mister?" he asked. "Tackett." "Sackett? You say Sackett? You any kin of them Sacketts down in Colorado? I used to know a couple of them. Good men, too. Rode with one of them named Hackensacket for a bit." I shook my head. "Wished I was, Sheriff, but it's Tackett with a T. I ain't got no kinfolk. Leastwise, I don't think I have. But someone sent me a copy of the paper up there in Cutback, and it mentioned a man named Tackett. And, well, that's why I'm heading that way. Looking for kinfolk is all." "Don't you believe him, Von Cart," the cowboy said. "We caught him red-handed, and we're going to hang him." Sheriff Von Cart shook his head. "Not today, you ain't."